So I actually spend a significant amount of time in understanding what digital marketing is, what are the various digital tools that we should be working on, and then more importantly, working at data analytics and data inference-led decisions are something that I have to look at. So accept it in your mind, acknowledge it in your mind.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Facetime with Leaders, presented by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Sunny Pancholi, and today we are honored to have a distinguished leader with us, someone whose impact on the talent development landscape in the insurance industry is truly remarkable. Mr. Suraj Mishra, Senior Director at Niva Bupa, has dedicated over 2 decades to shaping leadership pipelines and redefining talent strategies within the sector. From his leadership roles at Apollo Munich to driving operational excellence at IFCO Tokyo Insurance, Mr. Mishra has consistently demonstrated his ability to lead large teams and foster high performance cultures. At Niva Bupa, his innovative approach to talent acquisition and development is laying the foundation for future organizational success. Mr. Mishra, it's a privilege to have you on the podcast today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sunny, and the privilege is mine too. And thank you for having me in this platform.
You know, they say that every great journey begins with a single step, but yours seems to have been a leap into shaping and redefining industries. From leading operations to building talent pipelines, your career has been nothing short of remarkable. So, could you take us back to where it all started? What inspired you to embark on this journey? And how has it evolved into the impactful leadership role you hold today?
Yeah, it all started long back, Sunny, in 1988, uh, when I joined one of the four public sector general insurance companies at that point in time, immediately after my post graduation. Uh, Actually, I started from a very humble background, and that made me believe that financial stability is key to a successful life. And then my background in economics also validated that thought, and that actually drew me towards BFSI. And in this 35, 36 years, when I look back, this journey has been has been very unconventional, I will say. It's not a very conventional journey. And this 35, 36 years, I have actually challenged myself to take risks and always move out of my comfort zone because I always believed any role that I take, I must make myself redundant for that role within a short span of time so that the next best person takes the role and I move along and move on to do something else and experience something else. So if I look back this 35, 36 years, there are actually five or six key turning points where the life has moved significantly in a very different zone. So 1988, I joined a public sector company. That actually gave me a very solid grounding on understanding the technicals of insurance, what general insurance is all about, what is underwriting, what is claims, all that aspect. I also became a branch manager for a small stint, which gave me early exposure into how a distribution or sales and distribution works. But in 2001, after around 12 years in a public sector enterprise, the sector opened up and the new age private general insurance companies came to the fold. And in 2001, something within me said, Ki, this time to take a plunge. It's not a very easy decision, particularly coming from a uh, low economic background, that leave a public sector job and move to a private sector. It was a difficult decision. I actually moved the job, changed locations, went to a completely different city, and joined IFCO Tokyo General Insurance in 2001 in the city of Lucknow as SBU head. And within 2 3 years, I moved to Gurgaon to head the distribution arm. So my exposure in sales and distribution started in a private sector setup in 2003 or 2004. And within 3 4 years, we actually built a huge team of around 1,200, 1,300 people at that point in time to take care of the distribution channel and create alternate channels for the organization and also look at expansion. While things were looking absolutely fine, uh, then came the next move. Sector opened up again, and the regulators allowed the standalone health insurance companies to come into fold. And then something within me said, okay, let's take a move now because things here are looking absolutely fine. So I moved to the standalone health insurance space, which is a very risky proposition at that point in time. And I call it a risk in hindsight for two reasons. One, the health insurance portfolio is not a very profit making portfolio then, was not a very profit making portfolio. So moving from a multi-line to a monoline was definitely a risk because nobody knew whether this operating model will work or not. And the second, as I said, I was in a sales and distribution role. And when I moved to standalone health, I actually moved as a head of operations and customer service, a complete 180-degree change. So that was a big risk that I took at that point in time. Uh, Things settled down, but that actually gave me a lot of exposure into how the operating model or the operating economics works, how the unit economics works, how do you look at the cost of onboarding a customer, cost of servicing a customer. So those insights actually gave me a much more deeper insight into the other aspect of running a business. And when operation customer service looked a little bit on the stable and safe grounds, uh, I took the next move within Apollo Munich. I actually went back to distribution and sales as a zonal CEO in Bangalore. Again, a completely new territory. I had never worked in South. So as a zonal CEO, I became a profit center head now. So understanding, expanding the market, understanding the various channels, making sure that the distribution works, the sales productivity works, and at the same time, it makes profitable sense for the organization so that you stay profitable. So that's the exposure that I got when I was a zonal CEO. And in 2019-20, when just at the onset of COVID, another crossroad uh, came in front of me. I had an opportunity to go back to a general insurance player, large general insurance player, or I had to move on and take off another Sahi player, which is a relatively small player, but go invest time, apply all my experience into place and make it a formidable player. I actually choose the latter. I said going back to a general insurance player, which is a large company, and just managing something which is already successful is less challenging as compared to going and starting with a small standalone health insurance and making it a formidable player. That's when I moved to Niva Bupa, which was previously called Max Bupa then, and I joined during the middle of COVID there. And now it's a formidable player. I was taking care of institutional sales, which is typically dealing with all the partners that we have, whether it's the digital space or NBFCs and the banks. And then towards quite end of my career, last 2 years, I actually took another plunge. I said, okay, enough has been done. Let me now go and build a capability building role, get into a capability building role. And that's when I this talent academy started, and I moved as a senior director of talent academy, where the major focus was how do we create a talent fast culture within the organization and make talent as a market differentiator. Normally, the market differentiator is product, service, but we said, can we make talent as a market differentiator so that you move from a buy talent to a build talent concept? And the journey has been extremely significant. So, in summary, what has happened in 35, 36 years is I have exposure to a profit center role. I have looked at cost center and how to manage economics of operations. Briefly, I was also in a control function as a risk manager or a chief risk officer at Apollo Munich, and now a talent capability building role. So almost rounded exposure. You can call it a 360-degree exposure to business. And happy that I actually took those shifts when that opportunity came in. So taking that risk has helped. And I think I can confidently say now that change is the only constant that I have fallen in love with.
Absolutely. Seems so. Seems so. But what an inspiring journey, Mr. Mishra. Your experience shows how determination and vision can truly redefine industries. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Mr. Mishra, throughout your time at Apollo Munich, you played a crucial role in shaping the marketing, distribution, and sales strategies that helped the company grow. But then you
Mhm.
face the challenge of navigating the shift from traditional operational models to embracing digital first strategies, right? So, can you share with us how you approached this transformation personally and how it reshaped your leadership style, especially in an era where agility and digital innovation are everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, making the leap from a traditional operating model to digital first strategies was quite a transformation for me personally. Because as I said, I started my career in a public sector undertaking. Then I was in a private general insurance company, and managing mostly sales and distribution. And both these companies were dependent on traditional operating models. And when I suddenly moved from a sales distribution role to be head of operations and customer service, and the digital first wave was the thing at that particular point in time. It was not a necessity, it was actually a strategy in practice. You can't ignore digital transformation or digital shifts. So that was a challenge for me. I must admit that was a challenge for me, and that challenge actually started in my own mind. So the way I managed this was, first of all, to acknowledge the shift, to recognize that digital innovation or digital transformation is here to stay, right? And so it is better for me to acknowledge this in my mind and have a mindset change, so that I become curious to now continuously learn about this. So I actually spend a significant amount of time in understanding what digital marketing is, what are the various digital tools that we should be working on, and then more importantly, working at data analytics and data inference led decisions are something that I have to look at. So accept it in your mind, acknowledge it in your mind, and then be curious to learn and have continuous learning. And the third thing that I implemented at that particular point in time is a collaborative learning atmosphere. I myself cannot learn and master everything. So one is having team members who are adept at this new age of digital working. Then there are teams, the cross-functional teams who are also adept at this. So create a collaborative environment where we are learning from each other. So that was a continuous practice, continuous dialogue and communication discussions, to make sure that we are at it, right? And the fourth thing that I also mentioned that is a data-based decision making. So because I remember in my earlier years, I used to always say that my intuition says, that is the phrase that I used to always use. Now I said that I cannot go by only intuition, right? So instead of intuition, now said that intuition needs to be backed by sufficient data analysis and data inferences. So there was a significant amount of time that was spent in building those analytical tools and looking at data points before you take a decision. And the next part was, in a digital environment, you have to be agile and constantly innovate. And for me, an innovation means that your today has to be better than yesterday. So, what are the continuous improvement practices that you are putting in place without really fearing about if it goes wrong? Because innovation stops when you start wondering that if it goes wrong, what if? So we said that no, we'll put on practices to make sure that my today is better than yesterday. And the next point was keep customer at the center of everything, right? So instead of having an inward out approach, can I have an outside in approach?
Okay.
So that every process that we put in place, every digital innovation that we are bringing on board has to have the end customer in mind, so that the customer onboarding becomes seamless, the customer experience becomes absolutely seamless. Uh, and the last one will be to overcome the resistance to change, right? Because the first resistance was in my mind that I'm coming from sales and distribution, whether I will be able to do justice to this significant shift from traditional operating model to digital operating models.
Right.
So once I have overcome my own mindset, then it was extremely critical to make sure that change, uh, the resistance to change across the team, across the organization is also taken care of. So maybe these are the things that help me navigate that challenge of moving from a traditional model to a digital first model. And that experience has taught me significantly. And I'll say that today I'm a very different person when I'm saying it is database decision making. It actually all came from that stint as the operations and the customer service side.
No, Mr. Mishra, it's amazing to hear how you not only navigated but led such a transformation. Your approach to
Yeah.
adapting and leading in the digital age shows just how crucial it is. The visionary leadership is when facing change. So moving ahead, Mr. Mishra, managing national tie-ups and bank insurance must have come with its own set of unique challenges, especially when it comes to standardizing processes across such diverse regions. So what I would like to ask you is the complexity of aligning different teams, cultures, and expectations, can't be easy. So when you look back, what were some of the toughest obstacles you faced in this journey? And how did you manage to navigate those challenges while ensuring consistency and unity across the board?
Hmm. Interesting one. Uh, yeah, it was complex. It was complex in a sense that in this role, I was managing 30, 40 national level partners, out of which 17, 18 were banks. So you had large public sector banks, large private sector banks, multinational banks, and also small and finance banks. So that itself brought in a diversity of the customer profile that you are dealing with, the partner priorities that you are dealing with, and also the team that you are putting in place. They will be catering to different processes, different customer segments, and different partner priorities. Right. So the complexity was you are dealing with not one or two stakeholders, you are dealing with multiple stakeholders who have their own priorities in place. Then the customers that you are dealing with, the customers that you are onboarding are actually their customers, their end customers. So how to take care of the customer needs, the variability in the affordability of those customers is also a very complex phenomena. And to top it all, when you are managing this diverse situation, you will also have to create a balance so that ultimately the distribution economics works and it makes financial sense for the business that we are doing. Right? You cannot just be doing everything for everybody and don't make finance, which does not make a financial sense for us. So considering this, what you did is, I think this was the major challenge, that how do you manage diverse priorities, diverse processes, diverse product and benefit needs that comes from the customers, where the affordability is also very, very variable metrics. So considering this, I think the first thing that we did, and I worked with the product team very closely on this, is to have a very flexible product proposition in place, product and pricing proposition in place, so that it takes care of the varied customer needs of different partners. The customer acquisition model of our partners are also very, very different. So the needs that you identify is also aligned to the channel through which the customer comes in, right? So those nuances were taken care of when we put product propositions in front of our partners. The second one was to have one standardized platform where all the processes were made to look similar. You may have diverse processes, but you can always look at the commonalities in those processes and have a standardized process in place. And to make sure that the standardized process works, there has to be deep integration of technology integration of the partners, and you should have a very strong tech stack in place. Right? So while you are having these three, and you have an army of frontline sales guys who are going and delivering this on the ground, and they come from different geographies with different needs. Their skill level is very, very different. Their ability to understand and comprehend various product and processes are different. So it became extremely important that you have the right teams on the place, and the skilling that you and training methodology that you put in place uh, is extremely robust, so that they understand partner dynamics, stakeholder management skills, understanding the products that we put in place, and the processes that we are putting in place. So they needed to understand the whole gamut of things that is available at the partners platform. And while doing all this, we had at that point in time some 2,500 odd frontline sales guys going to these partner places and managing those sales numbers on the ground, you needed to have a common platform where their daily movement, we call it the sales operating rhythm, that rhythm needs to be captured on a platform, and you start looking at what's going right, what's not going right, and the gaps that you identified in the multiple things will lead to further improvements in the processes that you put in place. So broadly, having the right product, a standardized process platform, then having technology integration, a strong tech stack in place, so that the customer onboarding becomes seamless, the customer service becomes absolutely seamless, and then having a team under you, and that team is well equipped, trained to manage these diversities that they are exposed to. Sitting in head office, I am not facing those diversities on day in and day out. It is they who are facing it. So skilling them up and having a strong Salesforce management system to make sure that these input metrics are happening well on the ground was also extremely critical. And while doing this, uh, we instituted a very strong review mechanism with partners, with our own team members, to make sure that there is a daily, weekly, and monthly rhythm in place to make sure that all the input and output levers are moving in the right direction, and the basic distribution economics and sales force productivity is in place, so that it makes the financial sense. So this is the way we dealt with the complexity, uh, and the result were quite decent and
That's such a powerful approach, Mr. Mishra. It's clear how navigating such complexities required not just strategy but a deep understanding of people and region, cultures, and the diversity in total. So, all
indeed.
right. So, great. Diving into this thing and talking about the talent management and the diverse teams you have created over the years, you have played a pivotal role in building talent pipelines that not only foster leadership but also drive long-term success for organizations. So, with your vast experience in this area, I'm curious to know what do you believe are the key pillars of a strong talent pipeline? That is part A. And when you look back at the system you have helped create, what do you think truly makes them sustainable and impactful in developing future leaders?
See, I moved to this talent capability building role just 18, 20 months back. But the need for creating or hiring the right team, training them right, handholding them right, has been very close to my heart, because I always felt that you are as good as your team members. So you have to be a serving leader by, after having the right team in place, giving them the right handholding and training and skilling. But when I moved to this role 18, 20 months back, the first thing that I wanted to discover or diagnose is what's the core problem. Because when you talk about the pillars for talent management, talent development, we normally think about manager of managers and above, right? But the critical mass, which is the bottom two levels, uh, is actually the area that we need to focus more, particularly in BFSI. While some of the banks have been able to solve this problem to some extent, I don't think insurance companies have been able to solve this, uh, because the core problem is you have 80 to 85% of your total headcount in the bottom two levels, where attrition is high, the productive retention is low, and the average span of stay in an organization is hardly 12 or 14 months. So if when you have this sort of a situation, you are actually constantly putting in people, training them, skilling them, uh, helping them perform, and they move out. Because that
Right.
entire industry operates in a buy model. So there is just poaching of each other's resources, and the resources happily move from one company to the other. So I thought that let's first put our entire focus on solving this problem, the bottom two layers, which is your frontline sales, where you have roughly around 60-65%, and then the first line managers. And so the primary responsibility or the objective of when you started Talent Academy was, how do you move from a buy talent to a build talent? How can you build talent ground up? And when you are building it successfully, then you are also creating talent depth and a talent pipeline for your future roles or the future leaders. So keeping that in mind, what do you say that the front line has to be solved by having the right people on board, because many times what happens these days is any new job just comes in, people just come apply and come in, and then subsequently they discover it's a sales job. You will have to move around, talk to x number of people every day, and they say no, this is not what I intended to have. So to make sure that you are getting in the right person who understands the job role, so we have started engagement something like uh, after offer letter is issued, from offer to joining, there is a lot of communication and interaction that has started happening with these guys, so that they understand and appreciate the role. If somebody is not happy with that, he may not join. That's a much better problem to have, right? Instead of he joining, you investing in the person and then he is leaving, right? So we said that we should hire. We started something along with our HR team or the talent acquisition team, is something called a hire right process, so that you are right hiring the right person for the success behaviors that is required for that particular job that we are hiring for, or the role that we are hiring for. So that was the first level, that hire right, train them right, make them ready for the role, make them successful in the role, and then drive success consistently in that particular role. But then we realized that this army is managed by the first line managers that we have. And then we realized this is actually the most important cog in the wheel. That how do we make sure that the first line managers are doing right handholding and right guidance, working as a mentor and coach for the frontline army that you have in place. So we instituted multiple things and training programs to drive this frontline managers. So that is one part of the program that we have, which is to take care of the bottom two levels of the pyramid where your 80-85% employees stay. Then the next one is how do we look at the leadership layers? So few things that we did for the leadership layers is early identification of the future leaders. Because if you have a team of 1,000, 2,000 people in that cohort, how do you identify the leaders? If somebody is in X role and you have to move to X plus one, what are the functional competencies, behavioral competencies that is needed for the next role, and who in this team is ready for that? So that's why identifying the future leaders through a robust performance mechanism was put in place. For example, every role has certain functional skill requirement and behavioral skill requirement. So person needs to be assessed on those skills. If there is a gap, then fill in those gaps. Train them for recovering from those gaps. And people who are already delivering the acumen to manage a higher role, you can then identify them for the next role. So identification of the leaders is one of the strong pillars that we looked at. The second one is comprehensive training and development program. Many times, training is seen as a 2-day exercise, 3-day exercise, go to some offsite, but we actually completely changed that landscape. We said that the training will be based on the role requirement. If the role requires X number of X type of skills, both functional and behavioral, and the person has a gap, then how do we help him fill those gaps? And once after that training, every training was converted to actions, that you will have to say after the training, these are the actions that I am going to take. And there was a group coaching happening over the next 90 days, so that they go back, they put their learnings into action and start getting better results. So that's the focus on training and development. That's the second pillar. And the third pillar, I think, is mentoring and coaching. When it comes to mentoring and coaching, many times organizations invest heavily on the top 50, 100 leaders. But it is the middle managers, the manager of managers or the functional heads who are actually getting into a manager and quasi leadership role. They need more of handholding and mentoring. So, with the help of the talent development team, we started something called a mentoring exercise, so that the subject matter experts that we have in the company, they work as mentors to these people. So you have in-house mentors who are helping these people, and some people also went through coaching exercises. So coaching and mentoring. And the fourth one, I will say the fourth pillar, strong pillar, will be cross-functional exposure. Because if you are not giving them cross-functional exposure, you are not preparing them for multiple roles that they are going to handle in the future life. And I am a beneficiary of that. The very fact that I have moved from one role to the other, uh, distribution to operations, customer service, risk, that has actually helped me appreciate and understand business better. So that's why the fourth pillar will be that giving cross-functional exposure to team leaders. So these are the few things that we have put in place. A lot of things are in pipeline, and we are slowly and steadily building a culture of talent fast. So the moment the talent fast culture is there, everything else I think falls in place.
Not at all. Mr. Mishra, the way you have broken down the key pillars of a successful talent pipeline really shows how much thought and care goes into creating future leaders. All right, so let's move on to the next section, and I fondly call this section as window into the future. You have already achieved remarkable success in your career, and as you look towards the future, what are some of your key aspirations? That is part A of the question. Specifically, when you think about the next chapter of your professional journey, do you see yourself stepping into boardroom roles? And if so, how do you envision leveraging your expertise in talent development and leadership in those spaces?
Hmm. Interesting. Future aspirations to part one of your question. My experience in last 18 20 months while building the talent pipeline and working on talent capability building for the organization has made me realize in my heart and mind is that people development is key. And there are people, particularly in manager of manager roles, the middle manager roles, uh, the training and development, the handholding of these people are actually relatively less, but they take the maximum brunt of the people below them and the people above them. They're actually the sandwich layer that we have. So my one aspiration will be that if I can do something for this layer, so if there can be a mentoring or a coaching exposure that I can give to these people so that they come to me with their problems, and if I can help them, guide them to be successful in their respective roles. So that is one feeling that is getting very, very strong within me that, okay, this it's time to give back and make sure that the industry has better talent so that the industry grows and is in the right hands. So that's one. And to second part of your question, yeah, I will definitely be interested in some boardroom roles, particularly helping organizations in building talent, because ultimately, whether there is tech development or digital revolution, AI revolution, but ultimately you need people to hold the fort and manage the things. So yes, I will be definitely be interested in some boardroom roles, and what I can possibly do or help organizations in that role is one, my diverse exposure to multiple functions on various domains, and the second one is this people thing or building the talent capability. So one is you can the few skills that can be leveraged uh, in a boardroom role is uh, to put people centric strategies, right? So the employee should be central to the everything that you are doing, right? Many a times what happens is, and this does not happen everywhere, but many places people are seen as things, and things are loved more, right? But you cannot lose sight of having the right set of people who are managing the and holding the fort. So a people-centric strategy is something that can be worked upon. People are organizations are doing that. It's not that organizations not doing it, but helping the organization to get into a people-centric strategy will be one, so that a culture of trust and camaraderie is critical, and people feel confident that here is an organization where I can grow and create an impact. The second one will be innovative leadership. And why I insist on innovative leadership is in the leader's mind, he should not be happy with status quo, right? I should be constantly thinking as a leader, how can I make my tomorrow better than today? What are the few things that I can do? And that's where innovation starts. Innovation does not mean big innovation, which is going to change the industry. Even the small innovations are going to make the processes simpler and make the end user, which is your end customer, relatively happy, he can have a happy life, and your business outcomes can happen much faster, right? The operation cycle can be reduced. And the third one will be a culture of data-driven decision making. What many companies lose sight of, or many leaders lose sight of, is they still depend a lot on their intuitions. Okay, my gut feel is this, the thumb rule is this, but can you validate that through what the data is saying? There is millions and billions of data points that we have, every organization has. Can you look at what these data inferences are, and can my decision be backed by the data inferences, so that the right business levers are acted upon and they move in the right direction. And the fourth one, which is a must, I will say, is diversity and inclusion. There cannot be any debate on this. And fifth one will be, how do you make the leaders future ready, right? Because if you are not future, there are a lot of examples that are available in the marketplace, where people are not future ready, not thinking of the future, and the business dies, right? So the key leaders that you have, or every leader within the organization, should be future ready, and whatever future skills that this organization needs to acquire, even if it is not my functional domain. For example, even if it is only a marketing team who needs to have a digital marketing expertise, but why can't everybody be a digital marketer? At least they know what digital marketing is. They know what database decision making is. They know what AI tools are going to do. So the moment you expose the entire leadership team to future skills, is another pillar that should be worked upon. And if you work on these 4 5 things that I just narrated, I think we can build a very strong leadership pipeline. And the moment you have strong leaders, they will build strong teams under them. Because ultimately, building high performing teams is what a leader is responsible for. So if you give the right set of insights and inputs to the leaders, then they build the right set of teams under them. So maybe this is something that I will be focusing on if I move to any boardroom role.
Rightly said, Mr. Mishra. All right, so let's move ahead and let's dive into the topic of ESG. Um, as also, as sustainability and corporate responsibility continue to gain traction. So, how do you see the role of ESG evolving in the insurance sector? And what steps do you believe companies should take to integrate these principles into their operations effectively?
Yeah, ESG in insurance is a very recent phenomenon, but within the last 3 4 years, it has evolved significantly. So it has moved from a good to have to a strategic imperative. At least that shift is clearly visible in the insurance companies. So integrating ESG principles would require 3 4 things. I can think of 2 3 things. One is your responsible investment strategies, so that the investments that we do as a company are aligned with sustainability goals. So that's one thing that should be looked at. The second one is building operational sustainability, and there could be myriad of things that can be done, and our current organization has been doing a lot of things. One is reduce environmental footprint, have energy efficient offices, have digital only platforms, so that the usage of paper is reduced. Consciously reduce the travel time, because we have these virtual platforms which are so effective. You need not have to travel for every meeting. So the moment you do reduce travel, uh, then the carbon footprint will be less. So these are a few examples of building operational sustainability. And the third one, in my mind, will be how do we create the community impact and inclusion? Being in an insurance company, and if you look at the insurance penetration, maybe of health insurance, there is a vast population which is not getting the benefit of insurance, which is the missing middle and the masses. So, can you have products and distribution channels to include them into the insurance fold, so that they get benefits of health insurance and financial protection? So maybe these are the 3 things that I can immediately think of. Your investment strategies being aligned to ESG, the operational sustainability programs aligned to ESG, and also the products that you put in place in the marketplace as an insurance company. Uh, what attempts are you making to include the missing middle and the masses? Are a few things that can be done, in my view.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's exciting to hear your insights, Mr. Mishra. Uh, ESG is truly a cornerstone of future success, and your perspective on its integration into the insurance sector shows the significant potential it holds for sustainable growth. So that brings us to the last question of the podcast, and here it is.
Mhm.
Uh, Mr. Mishra, having been associated with the Directors Institute, could you share your experience with the Institute and how has your association with it helped shape your approach to leadership and governance?
Yeah, my association with Institute of Directors or Association of Directors is very recent. I think 3 4 months. But within these 3 4 months, it has actually made some significant impact on the way I think and the way I approach leadership or your this governance mechanism that you put in place. What are the few immediate and very notable impact are this? One, it provided me a platform to interact with industry leaders, because what has happened in my 35, 36 years is, while I have changed functions within the insurance domain, I have not moved out of insurance domain, right? So this exposure to industry leaders gives me that insight, that how are other industries doing, and what are the various thought process that they are going through. So, and this platform has definitely helped me in getting into those platforms, that industry leader engagement programs. And this has also introduced me to board level thinking and what are the board level dynamics. I have been and invited to various committees within the board in my functional roles. But how a board operates, what are the dynamics that the board goes through, what are the decisions that the board members are responsible for? Uh, so those insights have been very very helpful. The sessions that used to happen on every Saturday is brilliant, right? The multiple the case studies that you discuss, that actually opens up, this becomes mind boggling at times. So that's the second exposure, is the board level thinking and board level dynamics is one exposure that I have benefited from. And this has also introduced me to a very effective way of governance, because in our business leader roles, we do have governance mechanisms, but the board level governance is very different. And I have started putting whatever little insights that I have got from my exposure and association with the Directors Institute. I've started putting that into practice, and I get very good results. And I'm happy in hindsight that I did associate. I decided to associate with the Directors Institute and get these benefits. And the best ones are my exposure to industry leaders from various industries. And the second one is obviously the boardroom thinking and the board governance. So these are a few insights that I can think of at this point in time, because I have immensely benefited from this.
Mr. Mishra, it's wonderful to hear how the Directors Institute has played such an instrumental role in shaping your leadership journey.
Thank you.
In fact, let me thank you for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. Your journey, leadership philosophy, and innovative approach to talent development have truly been inspiring. So it's been an honor to have you on FaceTime with Leaders, and I'm sure our viewers will take away invaluable lessons from this conversation.
It's entirely my pleasure, Sunny, and thank you for this engaging conversation.
And to our audiences, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this episode insightful and impactful. Until next time, stay inspired and keep leading with purpose. Thank you so much and have a nice time.